Hello, everybody. I have good news for you if you are doing the assignment today, because this is Tuesday, October 20th. And if you're doing today's assignment and you do it on your paper and you take a picture and you turn it in, this is a review of the topics that are on Unit 2, which means you're going to get 10 points on that test that you took last Friday, or if you took it today. Now, if you have not yet taken it, I will have the test open again on Wednesday, but you have to let me know that you're planning on taking it so I will open your test. Okay, if you don't contact me ahead of time, I won't have your test open. So if you're taking it in the future and you turn in today's assignment, you will get an extra 10 points on your test. If you've already taken it and you turn in today's assignment, you get 10 points on that test. Now, I know I had a Zoom meeting set up this afternoon at 4:15 to get 10 points on the test. So if you turn in today's assignment, you don't have to come to the Zoom meeting unless you just wanted to have some other questions you wanted to ask, okay? So I don't mind you coming to the Zoom meeting, but if you turn in today's assignment, you've already got your 10 points on the test. So let's go over these and see what we have. This is the domain. So anytime they're asking you for domain, you are looking for X's. So make sure you write a big X so that you're focused on that. I highlight the X-axis or I circle it. Somehow I want to focus, these are the numbers I'm looking for. I am not going to pick any of these Y numbers. So on the X-axis, this point out here, if I take it straight down, it's right there. If I take this point straight up, it's right there. And those numbers, if I'm close enough, are a -3 and a 4. So -3 and 4 are my two X numbers, and the X's are literally between that. As long as I put the small number on the left and the big number on the right, it points left and it points left. Now, on the test, answer choices were A, B, C, D. And so if you had a question that was like this, they will have one answer that looks like this. And see how these are solid? They probably have another answer that has lines under them. So you have to be careful and pick out the right answer. Since these are solid points, they need to have lines under them. But there may be an answer on the answer choice that is identical to this, but without those lines. And so you need to be able to pick out the right one. So again, check at the end. If you have more than one answer that matches the numbers, check to see if it's a solid or open circle. Solid circles have lines underneath them, okay? So here's another question that was similar to what's on the test. They gave you this lovely parabola, and they were asking for the coordinates of the vertex. Of course, the vertex is this tippy point where it changes direction. And so remember, the X numbers come first. So I run over to 3, and then I jump up to 1. So remember, when you do this, 3, 1. I will guarantee one of the answer choices will be 1, 3 in case you reverse them. So make sure you put the X number first, the Y number second. The second part of this question was, are there any zeros? So you may be wondering, well, what is a zero? Remember, you can go look at your posters under the resource, and a lot of you said you already had pictures in your phone, so you could just flip through your phone and look at the pictures as you were taking the test, which was brilliant. Or you could have opened a tab up there and had the resources posters up there for you to look at. But the zeros is another name for x-intercept. So down here is the x-axis. Does this parabola ever cross the x-axis? No, it does not. So are there any zeros? No. So this would have been a none or no zeros. Oops, if I can write with this going. There we go. So you were looking for that vertex and you're looking for none. Sometimes there's two, sometimes there's only one if it just barely touches the line. Okay, now this one was interesting because they gave you the equation and they gave you a bunch of graphs to choose from, and they said the x-intercept is this and the y-intercept is that. Well, I need to be able to match this up for this equation, which means I need to put it in the calculator, Desmos if you're doing it at home, or the Inspire calculator if you're doing it at school. But in order for me to put it in, it's got to be in y equals format, so you're going to have to take that equation and solve for y. So here's my original equation. I'm going to get y by itself. I need to get rid of the 5x and the 4. Get rid of the 5x first by doing the opposite operation. Instead of adding, I'm going to subtract. You do it to both sides. The 5x's cancel out, which is why we did it. The 4y comes down. The 20 and the 5x, you cannot do that math together. They are not like terms. So we write them side by side, and there's a poster showing this step by step. -5x plus 20. Then y is not by itself, so I need to undo this multiplication by dividing. We do the opposite operation. So if I divide this side by 4, both pieces over here get divided by 4. If you put this fraction in the calculator, it says it's still -5/4. Don't forget the x's with it. 20 divided by 4 is a +5. So this is the equation I can put in the calculator. And when I did that, this is the picture I got. So my y-intercept is a 5 and my x-intercept is a 4. Now when you have all these different answer choices, this is just one particular answer choice, but some of them had the 5 and 4 in the wrong position, and some of them, if they had the 5 and the 4 in the right position, they had the graph wrong. because this graph is crossing at 5 on the y-axis, and this one is crossing at 5. There was another graph where it was crossing at 4, so you had to look very, very carefully when you're doing these. They will make the answer choices very, very similar. And so this is crossing at 5 and 4. However, is the x-intercept 5? No, my x-intercept is 4, so this part is wrong. So this would not be an answer that you would have picked on that. So again, you may have the right answer, but you got to match them up very, very carefully because they're trying to trick you with those answers. You got to check every little detail of the answer. Now this one is asking, is it a function? Remember, x's, when you're looking for a function, is only about the x's. If the x's repeat, it is not a function. So here are my x numbers. The x's are always on the left, y's are on the right. So 2 is paired up with negative 3. It is only used one time. But this 5 is paired up with 5, and 5 is paired up with 6. So this 5 got used twice. So if it gets used twice, is it a function? No, it is not. Okay, so those mapping diagrams are a little tricky. Now this one, they give you this lovely equation. They say find f of negative 2. So this is a plug and chug. You're just taking this right-hand side. They're telling you to substitute in negative 2 and find y when x is negative 2. So again, wherever the x's are, I put parentheses down here. 3x, I have a parentheses there. You drop in the negative 2 inside here. And then in the calculator screen, just the add, subtract, multiply, divide, you can just type this whole thing in. Now remember, this is a negative sign at the beginning. Oh, if you're doing that Desmos, or the scientific calculator, this is one in the scientific calculator. You have to put in the 4 first, change it to negative. Parentheses, that's a negative. And then you have to use Shift 6 to get the exponent to type in the 2. And then subtract 3, parentheses, negative 2, close the parentheses, plus 2. So when you do all that, you would wind up getting an answer and then just pick that answer choice out, or if it's a griddable, you would just write that in. Now this one is interesting. They say find the range. So as soon as you see the word range, you should write down a y. You're looking for the y's of the function, and they give you the equation. When the domain, and of course domain are x numbers, so you should write an x there, is this. So they are giving you the x numbers, and you are looking for the y numbers. Now whenever you're thinking, here are the x numbers, I'm looking for y's, you might think table. Okay, so here are the x numbers that they're giving you, and we want to know these y numbers. Sure would be nice if I could put that equation in the calculator and look at the table. That's one way of doing it. It's a very simple way of doing it. You could also plug each of these x numbers in one at a time and see what the y numbers are. So you could do plug and chug over and over. The x is a 0. Negative 2 times 0 is 0, and 5 plus 0 is still 5. So the first number would have been a 5 there, right? And then you would plug in the 1. The other way to do it is just take this equation, put it in the calculator, and look at the table. So if you were doing the Desmos calculator, you just type in y equals 5 minus 2x, look for that little gear thing and pop up the table, and then just check the x numbers. Now if I plug in a 1, negative 2 times 1 is negative 2, and 5 minus 2 is a 3. So when x is 1, my y is 3. Then we need to know when x is 2. Negative 2 times 2 is negative 4. 5 minus 4 is 1. And then I have a 3. Negative 2 times 3 is negative 6. So now I have 5 minus 6. Positive 5 and negative 6 means I have a negative 1. So the y numbers were a negative 1, 1, 3, and 5. You're looking for that answer that had those numbers with commas between them, just like they listed the domain here. All right. All of this is, most of this is vocab, vocab. If you know your vocab, you can do this. This one's asking for the domain, so these are your x numbers. So again, on your paper, you need to be writing each number down, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and writing the answer, okay? So this particular one, we're again wanting the domain, so I've highlighted the x-axis because that's what I'm focused on. You don't need to copy down the problems. You can just write the answers. So domain is this x number all the way over to this x number. All my x's are between there. And it's solid circle and solid circle, so I'm going to have lines underneath the inequality symbols. I put the negative 1 on the left, the 3 on the right. They're both pointed left, and I put lines underneath them. So that is the domain of that particular one, and you just pick that out very carefully from the answers. If they have another answer identical, but it has y's inside there, should you pick it? No, I am looking for the x's, so there should be an x in there, not y's. This one is what is the 0? And they're saying the 0 of g. G just means they've named this graph G. They may have named it H, they could have named it Q, they could have named it R. They're just saying G is the name of this particular function here. So it's the G function, and they want to know what is the 0. Well, if you know your vocab, a 0 is another name for an x-intercept. So where is this line crossing the x-axis? It's right there. And that number, if you count the lines over, is negative 6. So the x-intercept is a negative 6. If I can make a prettier 6 than that. There we go. So the 0 or the x-intercept is negative 6. All right. Let's go look at these. Again, guys, most of this stuff is vocab. Vocab and knowing how to use your calculator without making a mistake. So this is asking for domain and range. So whenever they're asking for multiple things, I just focus on one thing at a time and rule off any answer that doesn't match it exactly. And that way, sometimes I'll rule off 3 answers and I can just get the answer from just one piece of it. Or if I have ruled off 2 answers, I have fewer answers to look at for the second part. So let's do the domain first. So if I go down to my x numbers, I have a -3 and I got a 4. So all of my x's are between -3 and 4. So I ignore all the range answers and I just look at the domain only. Now this one should have a line underneath it and this one will not. So here's my -3, there's my 4. This one will have a line under it, that one won't. So I rule off any answers that don't match the domain. And then I go back and look at the range if I have more than one answer to choose from. So my range are the y numbers. It goes as high as 6 and it goes as low as a +1. So all my y's are between those two numbers. The 6 has got the line underneath it because it's solid. The 1 does not. Remember, we put the small number on the left, big number on the right. That 6 is the closed one, so that has the line underneath it. It's equal to 6. It's not equal to the 1. All right. Number 10. What is the domain and range? Again, if you're looking for domain and range, just do one of them first and then come back and do the other one. Now, this is a parabola. So remember, it's got arrows down here. So this line, if I'm doing the domain, the x numbers, if I come down to this edge, it does not stop here. It's not a big dot. It's got an arrow. So it's going to go right and slightly right forever and ever, which means I'm going to use all these x's forever and ever this way. It's slightly tilting left, so it's going to go left forever and ever, which means I use all those x numbers. So my domain is all real numbers. I'm going to use them all. So you go through and pick out any answer that has your domain being all real numbers or some version of all real numbers. Now the range, does it ever go above this 3? No, it starts at 3, but it goes down because the arrows are pointing down. So it's going to go down forever. So I want all the y's less than 3. The tricky part is it going to be a line underneath it or not? This graph is solid up here. So it is solid, so there will be a line under it. I want all the y's less than 3. So that was what I'm looking for with the line underneath it. There may be an answer without the line, and it would have looked like this, and that graph does not have an open circle up here at the top. So it was equal to it. All right, so those fine little points with those lines or no lines may be the difference between the right answer and the wrong answer. Now this is asking for a domain and range of this particular equation. So you had to go put it in the calculator. So they gave you the equation. It's in y equals format, so you can just go stick it in the calculator and look at the picture. Now since it's a parabola, is it going to go left forever and right forever? So my domain would be all real numbers. The range, on the other hand, it is going up forever, but it is not going down forever. So the range, I'm going to have a y, and I'm going to have this number, whatever the number was. And let's say this number was a -8. Okay? Are my y's bigger than -8 or smaller than -8? Going up is bigger, so my y's would have been bigger, and I would have turned it that way. Is it solid down here at the bottom? Yes, it is. So you put a line underneath it. So all my y's were greater than or equal to a -8. And you would just go on the graph and look to see what's the lowest point on that. And so you could trace around it and find out what that y number is to see what the lowest point is on that graph when you're doing those. Okay, this one is, they give you, on this one, they give you a bunch of pictures, or this is one version of this question. They just want you to take this equation, and they say which graph looks like this one. So all I need to do is put this in my graphing calculator and match up one of the pictures. Okay? The tricky part on this one was that this x is an exponent. So it's not a big X next to the 3/4. It's a little tiny exponent raised up high. So when you put in this y equals, you had the 2 parentheses, 3 divided by 4, close the parentheses. Then you had to do Shift 6 to put it in exponent mode and type in an X up there. And then it's just a question of picking out the picture. So on your answer sheet for number 12, you need to tell me that you were going to use the Desmos calculator because they give you an equation. We want to look at the picture. I need a picture. And you're going to tell me that to get the exponent typed in, you need to do Shift 6. So write something about this on number, what is this, number 12, so I know that you were watching the video. Okay, so number 12. Number 13, we are almost done. This one, this is a hard one. This is a harder version of the sequences. They gave you the second term, they gave you the fourth term, they gave you the seventh term. They did not give you the first term. Normally when they do this, they give you the first term. And if they give you a series of equations that you want to say which one matches this pattern, if you want to think about your table, the n or the x's are on the left. So when you're looking for the second term, the y was 17. When you're looking for the fourth term, the term was 41. When you're looking for the seventh term, it was 77. So one way to do that is to put each of your answer choices, they are equations, in the calculator and look at the table for each one. And if their table matches this, when x is 2, is the y is 17, when x is 4, the y is 41, it can't just be one point, it has to be every point, it has to match that. So if you find one that matches it, that's the one you would circle. And I don't think either one of these matched it if you put those in. But that's what you would be doing, is looking for the equation that matches that particular table. So that's one way to do these, is to make a little table and then take each of your answers that are formulas or equations and put them in the calculator. And they're all probably going to start with y equals, and so then you can just type in the right-hand side and put that in. Of course, if you're doing Desmos, you type the whole equation. So make yourself a little note here that you're going to make a little table, and you're going to put each answer choice, which is an equation, into the calculator and check the table. So this is an easy way to do that, is to check the table. But those are hard questions to do. Now this one, which of the following best describes the vertex of this parabola? So here's the vertex right there at the tippy point. So again, they probably have the vertex, the ordered pair that goes with it. So remember, you do the x number first and then the y number. So from the origin, you go over 2 and then up 1. So one answer choice will have a 2, 1. Another answer choice is going to have 1, 2. Which one of these is correct? Yep, you're right. You went over 2 and then up 1. X number is always first. So this one would have been the right one. This one is not the right one, if I can cross that off without keeping my paper. There we go. Now, is this a max or a min? If it's a high point, that's the maximum. Had it been a low point, then that would have been a minimum. So since this one is a high point, this one would have been a max, not a min. So don't pick the min. So max and 2, 1 would be the answer on that one, if that's what they were asking you to find. 15, here's another sequence one. They give you this lovely equation that stops right there, and they say a sub 1 equals 4. And the question is, and I don't think, oh, this one's asking, they ask which formula matches this. So here is my a sub 1, so straight from the poster. A sub n, any term is equal to a sub 1, which is 4, plus your d. And in this equation, you can see that the math is plus 6. That's the only thing this equation shows you, is the math that's happening, is that you're adding 6 to get to the next term. So I've got a sub 1 is 4, and plus 6 is my math, parentheses n minus 1. Straight from the poster, you just plug in the first term and you plug in the math number. Now, none of these look like this with an n minus 1 in it. So what they did was they've taken this and simplified it. So the 4 is still sitting here. 6 times n is 6n. 6 times negative 1 is negative 6. And then, after they got rid of the parentheses, they combined like terms. 4 and a negative 6 are plain numbers, so they can go together. So this is 6n, and 4 good guys and 6 bad guys means I have 2 bad guys left alive after they kill each other. So I'm looking for the answer that has 6n minus 2. You see any of these that say 6n minus 2? Do they do the right? Oh, I think I've made this one up with the n's and the 4s. Yeah, they didn't actually put any of the answer choices on here. I'm looking at, I don't think they did. Oh, they gave the wrong first term on this one. So none of these are going to match, but they should have had an answer choice that was a sub n is equal to 6n minus 2. And that would have been the answer choice that you would have picked. So they were making up a problem here, and they forgot to change the answers to match what they set up for the problem. 16. So make sure you tell me the right answer, which was this one. So you would have looked for one that looked like that. This one, yep, I'm double checking my math over there. Okay, so this one now. It says which inequality represents the domain. So this one we're just doing domain only. So domain, remember, are the x numbers. And so if I focus on these numbers, this one comes down to negative 6. This one comes up to 8. So all of my x's are between negative 6 and 8. Now, as long as you put the small number on the left and big number on the right, which way do you point them? Yes, left. Both of them get pointed left. And then, does the negative 6 have a line under it? Yes, it does. If it's a solid circle, you're going to have a line under that. Does the 8 need a line under it? No, it is an open circle. It would stay like that. So that would be the domain. The x's are between negative 6 and 8, and it can equal the negative 6. So there you have it, guys. Make sure you take a picture of this, of your paper, with the answers on it, and attach it and send it in to me, and you will get 10 points on today's assignment. And this assignment is only available today only. If you miss doing it today, then you won't get 10 points on the test unless you come to the Zoom meeting today. Bye.